What's going on, everybody? Back at it again. Strength We Trust. Another episode ready to drop some jewels on you guys, give you some good information, and let's keep this community building and growing. As always, it's your boy Mike Fit with my man. Wow, I did it again.
Yeah, I was definitely about to do the intro.
Oh, you was?
I thought
All right,
about it.
everybody, let's go ahead and rewind back about 5 seconds now. In
Nah,
three,
we
two,
gonna we gonna
one.
we gonna run it
Get
just like that. Nah,
'em!
don't worry about it. Go ahead, man. Go ahead, bro. You got it.
All right, so look, man, as always, though, guys, we're loving what we're doing here. Every episode is getting a little bit more fun and exciting, and we're just, excited to keep this thing growing, my man. So, you want to kind of lead us off with what we're going to be talking about today?
So, tools in the gym. That is the topic of conversation for today.
Yep.
There's a lot of them out there. We're not going to cover all of them. We're just going to cover the ones that are most frequently used, and we're going to work our way from the ground up, starting with footwear, going all the way up to going up to your wrist. And yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about today, just so you understand the pros, the cons, what's overrated, what's underrated, what's fairly rated, so that, if it's something that you might need or something that you're using that you don't need, then you could just, know how to incorporate it into what you're doing.
Yeah, we're going to give you just a better general understanding of the tools that you're probably already using or you're not using and might be applicable for you, or tools you might be thinking about using that you realize now after listening to us that, oh, maybe I don't need that.
Yeah.
And that might not be the route that I need to go, because there are some tools out there that you probably don't need.
Oh man, I can't wait.
So yeah, like you said, we want to start with from the ground up, because everything starts with our feet. The feedback we get, how we train, it all starts from the ground up.
It's our connection to the floor, man. So everything starts there. So footwear is super important. I'm gonna start by saying this: stop wearing running shoes to do your workouts.
Yes.
Some people are gonna say, "Hey, it's not a big deal," but I'm gonna tell you, because I've been working with clients for 15 years now. They feel a difference when they get out of those running shoes and get into some cross trainers.
Mhm.
Or, if you're into it, then you take off the shoes. And I'm not saying go barefoot. Nobody wants to see your toes in the gym. Wear socks, that's fine too, but just get out of the shoes and just feel the floor, have that contact, and it will make a world of difference. You're going to feel a much better connection to the floor. Your balance is going to feel different. Your movements are going to feel different, because like I said, your feet are your connection to the floor, and everything up the chain is going to be impacted by how stable you feel.
Mhm.
So if you have those running shoes on, and the running shoes tend to have a elevated heel, because most people are heel strikers,
Yep.
your center of gravity is going to be a little bit off.
Yep. Yeah, your ability to gain feedback through the floor is going to be limited by the fact that your heel is elevated. So like Rashawn was saying, is the more contact that you have the floor, the better.
Yeah.
The more feedback you can give to the rest of your body and the rest of your neural pathways, your lifts are going to be better. You're going to feel a better connection to your lifts. You're going to understand your lifts and how they should or shouldn't feel because of that.
Mhm.
And that's why we said the footwear it's huge. And I think that's where we can start with is you see a lot of people, besides running shoes, you'll have like the elevated heels.
Yeah,
right?
the
Or
old
like
lifting shoes.
or the Olympic lifting shoes, which I use and I've used plenty of times now. And I've learned more and more that it's probably not something I want to be doing all the time, 24/7.
Yeah.
So there's a time and a place for these tools, right? And when it comes to the elevated heels, a lot of the times the reason for the elevated heel is for a lack of mobility that we have at the ankle.
Yep.
Right? Our ankle's ability to dorsiflex or flex to allow people to squat, lunge, hinge, step up, and things of that nature is going to be impacted by your lack of mobility at the ankle. And what these elevated shoes do is they give you that room to sit down deeper into your hips and ankle that you normally wouldn't be able to get when you're on your own. And so there is a time and a place for them, but you don't want to use them as training wheels forever.
Mhm.
Right? Because that's what a lot of people get caught up doing is they do all their lower extremity work in these elevated sneakers and shoes.
Do the mobility work. If
Thank
you
you.
have limited mobility in your ankles, and you could test this out, start with your foot facing the wall. See see if you can get your knee to touch the wall without letting your heel come up off the floor.
Yep.
You should be. I don't know exactly the measurement. I'm gonna Google it and post it later. But you should be able to be about like 4 inches away from the wall and still be able to get your knee to the wall.
Yep.
Without letting your heel come off the floor.
the wall. Yeah.
If you can't do that, then you got some work to do.
You got some work to do, right? And If you're just beginning and everything like that, that's fine. If you need to elevate the heel, and we found different ways of doing this for clients
The
and everything.
slant boards are
Yeah.
the wedges are really popular now because most people have, poor ankle mobility. So this
Mhm.
is a quick way to get them to sit into a really good squat position with avoiding them getting into their knees
Mhm.
and just getting a better quality lift. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do the mobility work. If that's an issue,
Exactly.
definitely work on that. And over
Exactly.
time, you'll be able to execute a squat without having to rely on the slant boards or getting that extra elevation to sit into the squat that you want to get into.
Exactly. And I think the opposite of that now is you have your barefoot shoes, and
Yeah.
that's a big craze now
You
too.
remember the toe shoes?
Oh my lord. I
Those
remember like
the
those little
Ninja
ninja.
Turtle shoes?
I can promise you I didn't have them, but I respect them and I've seen them.
You know I did.
I know he did.
You know I
This
did.
man buys all the toys in the gym.
I gotta try it, man.
He's got them all. I'm telling you,
I bought it. I was that guy with the toe shoes.
you be
I
catching
wore them
training
for
tools like Pokemon,
yeah.
man.
Yo, chill out, bro. Yo, chill out, bro.
Yeah.
I tried them for I wore them for a couple months, but they just felt weird. There's something about like having my toes separated and walking around like that. I just couldn't. I couldn't get with it.
Yeah, but there's a place for them too.
But I did try it.
But you tried it
It,
though.
it, it felt good, but I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna wear my socks. Like I'm good. If I spent like $150 on these ugly toe shoes that I can't wear nowhere besides in the gym, and even in the gym where I'm
It
supposed to
still
be
looks
wearing,
weird for you?
yeah, I'm still getting
100%.
getting weird looks and people are judging me. I'm like, you know what? It's not even worth it.
They had a good run.
They had a good run,
They
but
had a good
now they
run.
have like things like the Vivos,
Yep,
where they have it's a neutral sole,
yep,
so you can still wear shoes and not rely on and not have to take your shoes off.
exactly. So you're
So,
still getting that feedback that we were talking about earlier by having your feet into the floor without necessarily needing to come out of your shoes.
and one of the things I didn't mention about the running shoes don't give you any lateral stability
Nope.
because when you're running, you're going forward.
Sagittal, yeah,
Yep. So, you want to have stable footwear and you want to be able to have real contact with the floor when you're executing your lower body movements.
exactly. Yeah, I think between those 3, that kinda covers a lot of what we want you to think about with your feet. Now, everybody's gonna be different. Their experience level is gonna be different, where they're starting out is gonna be different. So these tools are not bad or good. You just wanna make sure you know why you're using them, and you wanna make sure that if you're using them as an assistance, you're working on the reason why you need them for assistance.
Yeah.
Exactly. We don't want that to be something that you're using full time. Even like for somebody personally like myself, like I've used Olympic lifters for a long time now, and I've just recently started like actively working on my ankle mobility and now realizing I don't really need them as much.
Hmm.
Do I use them every once in a while? If I want to lift like really heavy? Yeah, sure, because it feels good as it makes lifts a little bit easier. But am I looking at use them 24/7 or 2, 3 days a week? No, not anymore.
Yeah, a little tangent. I still think wearing cleats that day when we were doing the training in the field is why I tore my Achilles. Because I wasn't a cleat athlete. I mean, I played
Yep.
lacrosse, but like I didn't play lacrosse, for I played it 4 years of high school, but that
Right.
was about it. When I tore my Achilles was probably 13 years later. I hadn't worn cleats in forever.
That is crazy.
So
I just thought about
no,
that too.
I thought. Listen, I thought long and hard about why I tore my Achilles, and that was one of the things that stuck out to me. It's like I was wearing these brand new cleats, never broke them in, never really trained consistently with cleats before, and yeah, I'm sure that contributed to why I blew out my Achilles.
FYI, I did not blow out his Achilles
He
before
did
he
not. He
blames
did
me
not. He did not.
because he be trying to throw me underneath the bus like I blew out his Achilles sometimes. But it's all right. I'll take the L on that one.
You shouldn't have pulled so hard on the band, bro. You should just let me go. You want to fight me? You want to fight me? I was like, nah. Watch this. I'm gonna drag you all the way. I will drag you all 10 yards, and then bloop. Whoa, shit.
Yeah, man. It was a rough day. That was a rough day. But we're not gonna go crazy on that.
But we hear that. We
But
hear
we're here
that.
now. So working your way up the ladder. Now we've covered a little bit of your footwear and the assistance of footwear. Now, if you're working your way up the ladder, now you have like your joints. Now your major joints like your knees and your hips and things of that nature. So a lot of times you see in the gym, you see people wearing sleeves,
Yeah.
right? You see your knee sleeves. You see people wearing like full length leg sleeves and compressions and things of that nature. Whether they're power lifters, weight lifters, Olympic lifters, or just a general pop in the gym. Compression is like a big thing now. You see it all over the place.
It feels good, but do you need it?
But do you need it? And that's where we really want to get at. Now, as somebody who's used compression throughout his whole life from playing sports and from weightlifting, it does feel good, right? It does give you a sensation of being warm, having good circulation, joints don't feel as achy. So there is a method to the madness, I guess you would say. But again, if you're going to use something for assistance, make sure you're working on the reason why you're using them for that assistance. And that's what we're going to keep reiterating as we're working our way up the ladder here. So a lot of times when people wear knee sleeves, they say, "Oh, my knees hurt
Hmm.
and I need to wear these knee sleeves or I can't work out."
Why do your knees hurt?
There you go. So asking the question. And I think that's a big part of the reason why people don't they don't really do the homework on why they are using the tools. They just use the tools because they know it's supposed to help them.
Yeah, like you get do the work.
Do the work.
Do the work, do the homework, figure it out, get a better understanding, figure out where you may have some weakness or some mobility issues, and you could probably, get yourself away from having to rely on that to do your low body work.
100%. I mean, there's plenty of stuff that we can do, right? Or plenty of stuff that you can find out, whether it's your quads being weak, whether it's lack of mobility at the hip, which is straining tension at the knee, whether it's a lack of mobility at the ankle, which is now putting stress at the knee,
Weak glutes.
weak glutes, right? Weak hamstring. There's a lot of attachments that are going to put you in a position where your knee is going to hurt or feel uncomfortable. Now, instead of just relying on the assistance of knee sleeves and compressions, let's peel the layers back and figure out why this is occurring and now implement a game plan to mitigate a lot of that.
Yeah, and just some quick game. Um, your joints alternate between mobile and stable. So ankles are pretty mobile, knees not so mobile. They only go front to back. Hips are
Yep.
pretty mobile. I'm not going to go through all the joints, but the point is, like, if you're having an issue at a joint, and we're talking about the knee, so we're going to talk about the knee. It's usually the joints above and below that are going to impact what's going on at the joint. So if you're having knee problems, take a look at your ankles, take
Yep.
a look at your hips.
Yep.
So I just gave you some free game. So if you are someone with knee problems, start looking at what's going on at the ankles, start looking at what's going on in your hips and what you can do to improve those and see what happens to your knee.
Yeah. And I like to say is a lot of times people try to treat the symptom and not the cause,
Yeah,
right? Everybody just
sounds like modern medicine.
ain't that crazy, right? It's crazy how that works nowadays. So we want to teach you guys to not just be fearful of whatever symptom you might be dealing with, but understanding that there's a reason why that symptom is occurring and giving you some tools and game on how to attack whatever that symptom is. So
Mhm.
knee sleeves are a big one that people use. They use knee wraps. We see a lot of the times where people are doing like heavy squats and they're wrapping their knee a million times through for some heavy squats. And again, we both understand like why people do it, but if everything in the surrounding area, like we talked about, is developed and functional, why do you need that?
Yeah. And the elite powerlifters, I get it. I get
Yep,
it. But most of y'all are not elite. I'm sorry to say. Like I'm not lifting heavy enough where I need that.
exactly,
I'm staying in my lane. That's just not
exactly,
what I do. But if that is what you do, yo, do your thing. Go ahead.
exactly. And that if that's your lane and that's your world and that's your experience, that's totally fine. But for the general population, you don't need it.
Yeah, don't be going with your gym bag full of stuff that you don't need. Good.
We see this way too much, is pretty much what he's saying. We're like, you coming in and you got 18 million toys and tools coming out of your bag, and then it takes you 20 minutes to set up all
They
these
geared
tools.
up like they going to war. I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
you just go and lift some
You're
weight.
just going to
Like
lift some weights. Just go work out. It's okay. Like nobody's gonna hurt you. They be acting like somebody's gonna go in there and like shoot him or something like that.
You
Like
know
they
what
put on
I
armor.
you know what's gotten popular too? The blood flow restriction
Oh
bands.
my god.
Yeah, I see a lot of
Call them the booty
women,
poppers.
yeah, women wearing them to get their butts bigger. And it's like, man, listen, just do the work.
Just do the
There's
work.
no shortcuts. And look, the BFR bands, they work. They're supposed to allow you to get more bang for your buck without having to lift as heavy.
Exactly.
But like for me, my personal opinion, if you have no injuries that prevent you from lifting heavier, then just do it like we always been doing it. Just keep lifting.
Progressive overload.
Yeah,
Just
progressive low.
continue to get stronger, add more volume and repetition as you go.
Yeah.
That's
And
it.
most of these people are doing it for aesthetic reasons.
Yeah,
And we've talked about this many times. We want to get people away from that. Don't do it for the aesthetics, do it to build real strength. That will
exactly.
serve you better.
Exactly. And again, moving our way up the ladder here. Now, these are, I know between the two of us, we probably hate these ones the most. Is the whole waist trainer movement,
Oh
and I'm
my
like, Lord have
God.
mercy, man. I can't take this anymore with this waist trainer movement.
Stop it.
Stop it, please. Look, do the right thing. You don't need a waist trainer here. If you want to develop some type of abdominal and aesthetic look, it's I'm not saying it's not hard, but there are steps in place for that to occur, right? Getting heavier, lifting heavier weights, right? Eating in a appropriate caloric surplus, right? Making sure that you're hydrating enough, making sure that you're sleeping enough, making sure you're getting enough cardiovascular. These all these simple steps that you can do, but a lot of the times we talk about this all the time. We're in this comfort state where people don't really want to go the hard route. They rather have a tool in place that's going to assist the process.
And there's no way that's really easy. And that waist training thing is miserable.
Exactly.
It can be. It doesn't feel good. It's going to impact your ability to breathe. And a lot of us are bad at breathing already. So
Exactly.
why add something that's going to make your breathing mechanics even worse? They
Exactly.
just don't work. They just don't work. I don't
No.
care how much sweat you see dripping off of the band when you're done. You're When you raise the temperature of your body sweats. So
Yes.
if I used to wrestle, so we used to wear
Hot suits.
the hot suits.
Yeah.
That's just water weight. Like you're
Yep.
not like burning any additional fat by doing that. You're not. Don't be fooled.
It's
Don't
all
be
it's
fooled.
all water weight. That's all you're doing is just displacing water.
Like so, like the waist trainers, trash.
Yeah.
Get rid of them. If you're wearing it, I'm sorry. I hope I don't offend you. You were misguided. I don't know who you following or who suggested it, but we're telling you, doesn't work.
Exactly. There's literally multiple steps you need to take before that even becomes a route. And what gets like my gears going with it is that a lot of times women will go that route immediately. That'll be like their first step, their first choice in the gym is they see this social media influencer wearing this waist trainer and now they look snatched and now they're going to throw that waist trainer on and in 4 weeks game time, I'm going to have it. And I'm like,
It doesn't happen like that.
our bodies do not adapt that fast, number 1. A waist trainer is not going to force that adaptation, number 2. And if you're not willing to change your food habits, your lifting habits, and your day-to-day activities, like, nothing's gonna change anyway.
And people who claim they get results from this, they're they're making the wrong connections. Like if they're wearing the waist trainer, they're probably like a little bit more intentional about how they're eating. They're
Yep,
probably moving and working out more than they were in the past. Like
yep.
it's not the waist trainer.
No,
Save your money.
exactly. Just go put the work in. And, there's a lot of stuff like that, and, we just keep working our way up the ladder with this
We
thing.
still let's stay at the weights. Let's talk about the
Yeah.
belts.
Oh my god, okay. So now you have, like, your weightlifting belts,
Yeah.
and we see this all the time, men and women alike,
Hmm.
whether they're lifting something extremely heavy or they feel like they just wanna use it for their whole entire workout.
Yo, I saw this guy. He was doing curls and wearing a belt. And he wasn't even curling anything heavy. It was like some 10s or 15 pounds weight. And he was screaming, wearing this weight belt. I'm like, what is going on here? It was so annoying just to look at him. I had to leave the gym floor.
Yeah,
Like he was so frustrated to look at this guy wearing this weight belt to do some upper body lifts. And nothing that requires wearing a weight belt. And he
exactly.
wasn't lifting heavy enough to use weight belt. I
It's not applicable.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah, at all. I mean, look, there's a time and a place for the weight belt.
If you're a power lifter,
Yes.
like, yo, yeah, you
If you're
probably
if you're lifting at, like, 90, 95%, 100% of whatever your 1 rep max is or 3 RM, and you're a power lifter, like, you might have to implement a weight belt just for intra-abdominal pressure, like, just to be able to have that feedback. You might need that.
and if any of what he just said is foreign to you, you don't need a weight belt.
There you go. Exactly. If you're not able to digest the way I just
If
broke that down.
if you don't understand what those numbers are or any of those terms, you do not need a weight belt.
Exactly. Like for general population, the weight belt is not something that's necessary as a tool. You need to learn how to create abdominal pressure on your own without assistance before using a tool to help aid that. Just like you said with every other tool down this chain, you don't want to use the training wheels all the time.
Yeah.
Right? They're meant as assisters. They're not meant for long-term tools.
Yeah.
You want to get away from that stuff.
Don't make it your crutch.
Don't make it your crutch. Like if you have a problem with intra-abdominal pressure, meaning like you don't know how to contract your abs, you don't know how to contract through your pelvic floor, squeeze your butt and your abs, and you learn how to create that connection. If you
Learn
don't
how to
have that,
breathe.
Thank you. If you don't understand those 3 points of contact, right, you don't need a weight belt in the first place.
Nah, because it's just gonna make you think that you could lift heavier than you can.
And you're gonna put yourself down a path where now you're increasing the likelihood for injury. You're, giving yourself a false sense of progression,
Mhm.
and which we already know that leads to a lot of bad stuff down the road.
Oh man. And the point is to be stronger in life. You're not going to be wearing a weight belt when you're not in the gym. So like don't use it all the time in the gym.
Exactly. Exactly. 100%. Um, working our way up this body here. I can't believe how many tools we've already covered just now. That's
Yeah, all
crazy.
these toys and
These
like
toys that like are completely unnecessary if you know understand your body
yeah,
and just how to just get stuff done.
right.
Just like what we say, we said just do it, right?
Just do it, right? That's another episode. You
Another
got to go through
episode.
those episodes to
Yeah,
figure out which one.
we'll get there. But now working your way up, we start having like your hand work, and I see this. I think this is probably my biggest pet peeve in the gym. Personally, I have to
Let
be
me
honest with
guess, the
you.
gloves.
Oh my lord, can't stand it, man. Like, I don't know if you guys can see it. We might have to zoom in on here.
My calluses are intense.
I earn these calluses,
I earn
and
it
I'm
every
not
day.
saying that I want you all here walking around with calluses.
You won't all get calluses. Your hands might get a little tougher, but yo, get the pumice stone, get some manicures. You're gonna be all
And
right.
you'll be all right. All right. I'm not telling you guys that you're gonna have the permacallus like I have. All right. Don't worry about it. But what I am saying is that these gloves that I see, not just women, but men alike wearing in the gym, all you're doing is just limiting the feedback and the grit that you're going to get from lifting. Like the impact of being able to squeeze something in your hand, the feedback that you get from that is going to give you exponentially more growth than putting on this leather
I
glove.
never had good grip when I wore gloves. I used
It
to
is
wear gloves like the first like I guess like 2, 3 years of like really lifting weights. Everybody else wore gloves, so I was like, all right,
yeah,
let me give it a try. But it
right.
actually made the calluses worse because they used to pinch my fingers.
And the
I don't know.
gloves and
I
stuff.
mean, I don't know what the new gloves look like now because
Right.
I don't use gloves. I
It's
actually had a new client start this week, and she's like, she had the toolbox, she book bag filled with tools. She's like, "Should I bring any of them?" I'm like, "No." She was like,
nothing.
Not even my gloves. Are we gonna lift heavy?" I'm like, "Yes." But you don't want me to bring my gloves? No.
No. Please don't. Like, please don't. I can't tell you how
And
many.
she was fine.
Thank you.
She was fine. Got through the workout, and she was just fine. You're gonna be all right. Leave the gloves. If you got gloves, throw them away. You're gonna be okay.
Exactly. Like, it's okay. They're not that expensive, I promise.
But
Well,
if you really want them, don't
then
say we didn't tell you.
exactly. And the reason why we're really harping on the gloves is you don't understand like the immense amount of feedback you get from just being able to squeeze with your hands. Like they've done studies where they talk about what your grip strength correlated with your heart health. And when you're limiting your ability to increase your grip strength, you're limiting everything, right? You can only lift what you can hold.
Hmm.
Exactly, right? Now, if you're doing deadlifts, if you're doing split squats, if you're doing trap bar deadlifts, if you're doing farmers carries, anything of the nature that goes with your grip, if that isn't being strengthened, you're limiting every single thing that you're able to do in the gym. Your grip correlates to pretty much, I don't want to say everything, but d-
Everything where you
da-
gotta hold it. Like
damn near you got to do
you're
everything with
only
your
as
grip.
strong as the weakest link in the chain. And
And there you
if your
go.
grip is the weakest link in the chain, guess what? You're not gonna be maximizing your potential.
And I think that that takes us into what we see a lot of now is the rip straps that actually hook the bar for you.
Yeah.
So you have like the assisters now for the grip, which I will say
I'm a fa- I'm
I'm a fan of
I'm a
that.
fan. I'm a
Right.
fan.
And there's a reason for that. I actually just saw a post from another trainer where she was specifically talking about this
Mhm.
and how a lot of times people have a negative connotation around that tool because they think, oh, if you can't hold it, you shouldn't be doing it. But it's like, it depends on the exercise that you're looking for. If you're doing something like an RDL or a deadlift and you're trying to maximize tension at like your hamstrings or your glutes, your your hands are going to quit before your hamstrings and glutes do.
Usually. Yeah.
Usually, for the
Yeah.
most
For the
part, right?
most part. So
Right. So that tool is great in my opinion if you're looking to tax out a certain muscle group,
mhm.
there's a reason for that. Now, something like even pull-ups, if you're looking to tax out like your lats, but your hands are just giving up beforehand, I'm actually okay with that.
Yeah,
Like
me too.
if you're doing some type of pull work or posterior work where you want something to be taxed out before the grip tax out, I'm okay with that.
Hmm.
There's a time and a place for that specific tool. But again, like we said, We don't want that to become a crutch
Mhm.
for every single time that you're using your grip.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you know that your grip is what's keeping you from lifting more, so you have to wear wraps, you probably should do some grip strength training.
There you
Like,
go.
like start your workouts with that, do more pulling work, and your grip over time will improve, so you will rely less on the wraps. But don't make that your go-to on your first set. Like, don't just throw the wraps on. Like,
Yep.
give it some time. Give your forearms some time to fatigue before you go for any assistance.
Exactly. And I mean, there's a lot of tools. We've actually covered like a big chunk that people use, and I'm sure there's plenty more
Mhm.
that we haven't really like spoken about.
What about the wrist
Oh my
wraps?
god, like the regular wrist
The
wraps
other
now
wrist
too.
wraps to keep your
Your
wrist straight.
wrist straight, and I used to be one to use them.
But
Y
I did use them for a period,
I did.
but then I'm like, I thought about it, and then I went back to what we're talking about. I'm like, yo, I don't need this. Let me
It's a
just,
crutch. You're
yeah.
using it as a crutch. It's giving you, like we said, it's giving you like a false sense of confidence in your ability to keep a neutral wrist.
And you know when I threw when I stopped bringing them because I remember going to the gym and I'm like, oh my god, I can't work out because I don't have my wrist wraps. I'm
And I'm
like,
like,
what am I
"What?"
talking about? I've been working out for like 8 years now. Like I just started using these a couple months ago.
That's
I'm like,
crazy.
it's over for that.
Exactly, and we don't that's what we're saying, we don't ever want you to be dependent on these tools to work out. You should be able to step into the gym freehand and still get a functional, great
You
workout.
could get an awesome workout with zero tools. Look at the calisthenic dudes. They do
Exactly.
incredible things with no assistance.
Exactly, exactly. So, we just wanna just want you guys to understand that there are times and places for each and every one of these tools. There are pros and cons, but we don't want you to be dependent on these tools for the long term of your fitness journey.
Yeah.
We want you to use them appropriately, let them fit in where they get in, and then when it's a time and place for them to get out, let them get out. They don't need to be with you the whole entire time.
Yeah. So I hope I didn't offend anybody.
Nah, man, that's okay. That's
I don't think
okay.
so. But it's okay. You learn. Like I've done things that I'm like, oh man, yeah. But you learn along the way, and we're just trying to shorten your learning curve because we've been doing this for a long time, and not just with our own training, but we've worked with lots of people. We've also talked to lots of people who do this. So if you're listening, hopefully we'll shorten your learning curve so you don't rely on these things for an unnecessary amount of time.
Exactly. Like learn now so that you can grow quicker later.
Yeah, that's pretty much
100%.
it.
That's all we want you to do. We just want you to learn, grow as quickly and efficient as possible. We want you to cut all the BS out as short as
Yeah, man. There's
possible.
a lot of nonsense out there, man.
Exactly. Just stick to the script. But look, we got another that was another great episode, I feel like. We tapped into a
Short,
lot. Short,
sweet.
sweet, right to the point. We really hope you guys enjoyed this and everything else that we have going on. As always, hit the subscribe button. We're really trying to grow this community out. Like I always say, brick by brick, person by person, every subscription counts. Hit us up at Strength We Trust on all platforms: YouTube, IG, TikTok, Instagram. I said IG and whatever.
You said IG and
It's all good. We can say it twice. And follow
yeah.
me at MikeFit19, and then my partner in crime, as always.
Average Sean English. And listen, if there's any tools that we didn't cover that you want us to cover,
Yes,
hit us up. DM, comment, let us know.
absolutely. We'll love it, and we'll cover it in another episode. And we'll catch you guys next time, baby. Peace.